After losing Paul George over the summer, and it being announced that Kawhi Leonard was going to be out for an extended period of time, many people thought the Clippers wouldn't be a serious team in the loaded Western Conference. But so far, they've been more than competitive against some elite squads. And the play of James Harden has been a huge factor to this team's early success. Now at age 35 and currently playing in his 16th NBA season, it's safe to say that Harden doesn't quite pack the same punch as a scorer. When looking at the numbers, the biggest thing to me that stands out is Harden's rim finishing. Last year in the playoffs, his numbers in the paint were pretty bad, and so far this season his percentages haven't looked super promising. When looking at the film, it's pretty clear that James has lost some of his verticality and control when finishing in traffic, where he now has a hard time stepping through contact and exploding into finishes. We'll see him here get to the straight line drive against Christian Brown, and he's going to pick up with Brown on his hip. But from this spot, he just doesn't have the strength or explosiveness to find a finishing window. And when James does pick up and tries to use his strides to create a scoring angle, he doesn't quite cover the same amount of ground on the floor. So as a paint scorer, Harden's game right now is pretty limited, but he has found some ways to effectively work around this. And the first thing we can look at is his mid-range game. So far this year, James has been absolutely lights out on these in-between pull-ups. And while this is a pretty small sample size of shots, I still think Harden has developed a really effective process in creating these looks. In pick and roll, Harden plays with really good pace, where he's comfortable slowing down, reading the floor, and rising up into open space. Plus, he's also got really good navigation, being comfortable snaking, giving it up, to then come back off and find the breathing room to pull up.
Minutes with James Harden on the bench. He's back out there and promptly.
We'll see him here initially working off the screen to his left, and watch him first come off, to then stop and work back off to his right. And when he feels Tyus Jones fighting over, he's going to briefly slow down to put him in jail, to then work his way to open space to elevate. When navigating to his spots, Harden is also elite at using his body to bump and separate, and he's comfortable creating space going both right and left. We'll see him here first attack to his right with this between cross combo, and when the defense slides to cut him off, Harden is going to transfer the ball back through, to then lower his shoulder into the defense, and step back off his right foot. And as he's drifting back, notice how James has the control to turn his hips, getting himself angled to the basket. Now he's matched up against the big 6'8", 240 Aaron Gordon, and as Harden works off the screen to his right, watch him veer back into Gordon's body, bumping him all the way into the deep paint, giving him the leverage to separate back out to his right. So whenever Harden needs to get LA a bucket, he's been primarily looking to attack and create space in the mid-range, and because he plays so physical with the ball, he's naturally able to draw fouls while rising up. And it's not like he's trying to bait these calls. Most of these whistles come from him first creating space, and the defense crashing into him trying to contest.
He just fell down.
Now, even though Harden's downhill scoring game has taken a step back, he still has the skill and tools to cook mismatches in open space. If you've watched Harden for a while, you definitely know that one of his go-to moves is his right to left between blow-by, where he lulls the defense to sleep with his cross between combo, to then widen his stance and dart into a drive.
Rookie Ryan Dunn puts it on the deck, penetrates, count the basket and one.
This was a pretty tough bucket right here, where James again gets to his right to left between, but instead of immediately exploding, he's going to hit a brief hesitation off this move, to then push himself downhill. And as the weak side defense slides over, notice how Harden's going to slightly decelerate off his left foot, which slightly throws off the timing of the defense, giving Harden a window to finish. I also like it when Harden gets to his floater bag in the lane. These typically aren't shots he gets to a lot, but I feel like this is another way he can work around his lack of explosiveness in the paint. And because the defense has to respect James as a passer, he commonly has the breathing room in front of the basket to get these shots off. And then of course I have to mention that James is still very crafty in drawing fouls, where he's got good timing on picking up and sweeping the ball through the reaching defense. Watch him here initially shift KD out of his frame with another between cross, and Harden's going to take one dribble to then attack and bring the ball right to Durant's chest to draw the foul.
Drives, Durant reaching in and called for a foul.
Now when extending out and looking at Harden's 3-point shooting, his numbers have been pretty bad. so far shooting below 20% for this season, and I honestly think this is a good sign for the Clippers. First, because Harden has shot over 38% over the past 2 years, so I doubt that this is going to be a common trend for the rest of this season. And when shots really start to fall for James, that's obviously going to put points on the board. But that's also going to force teams to really press up and meet him out beyond the 3, which will then give Harden more space to operate and create shots in the mid-range.
Phoenix all the way out to the sideline just to make.
So while James may not be a consistent 30-plus scorer every night, he still has enough juice in his game to be an effective bucket getter in spots. His pace and physicality allows him to generate shots in the mid-range. He's got the handle to burn mismatches on the perimeter, and I think it's just a matter of time until his 3-point numbers climb up. Now, all that scoring in return opens up Harden's playmaking, which I would argue right now is the best part of this game. As a passer, Harden does his best work at a pick and roll, where he's mastered literally every single pass you read. Being able to snap tight pocket passes to the roll man, toss lobs above the rim, plus read the weak side of the floor. When hitting the roll man, James has a deep bag of deliveries, where he's great at reading the defense and finding angles to snap these dimes. You'll see Nikola Jokic here step out and meet him on the perimeter, so Harden in response is going to take a dribble and cup the ball and whip this pass around Jokic, perfectly leading Zubac to the rim. This is a pretty unorthodox pass right here, where Harden's being doubled by 2 bigger defenders, so he's going to pick up and elevate off 2 feet, to then extend up as if he's shooting a 20-foot jump hook, except it's again a perfectly placed pass to Zubac in the lane. And like I said, the foundation to Harden's playmaking is that he's still a real scoring threat with the ball. Once he turns the corner and is playing downhill, that mid-range and floater game is pretty much always going to pull the backline defense up, opening up easy buckets for his teammates. Watch him here beat Gordon with his left to right crossover, and even before Harden gets into the paint, notice how he pulls Jokic up, opening up this backside lob. So because James can both score and punish the backline defense for overhelping, the only option teams have is to send help from the weak side of the floor. But like we went over, James has a good feel of the entire court.
Harden hooks it into the corner, Powell for 3, that's good.
So while Harden for the most part has been giving the Clippers steady offense as a primary ball handler, he's still been far from perfect. While James is currently leading the NBA in assists, he's also the leader in turnovers. And of course, a high usage player like Harden is bound to have some giveaways, but I still think James could avoid some of these. There are times where he gets overzealous dribbling in traffic, or he completely telegraphs his passes. Take this play for example. Notice how James has his eyes glued on Zubac well before he throws his pass, allowing Jones to easily get the steal from behind. But despite Harden's high turnover rate, I still don't think his ball security has been a major issue for the Clippers down the stretch. And overall, I think it's better for Harden to be playing aggressive with a high turnover rate compared to being more passive with lower scoring and assist numbers. So considering how many people wrote off the Clippers coming into this season, I think their team as a whole is off to a great start. And what's also promising is that even though Harden's playing well, I still think he has the capability to play a whole lot better. If he can elevate his 3-point shooting and cut down on his turnovers, we may be looking at an all-star season for Harden. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments what you think of James Harden's game. The kid's here.